BronyCon 2014, an event that utterly changed the way that I interacted with the fandom as well as members of the show's staff. As I wandered that gigantic vendor hall, meeting new friends and seeing familiar faces, rumors started dripping my way, inklings started seeping into my brain. One thing had gained my attention, a special stamped card. Equestrian Mailmare Special Delivery. I searched endlessly for this mystical Enterplay booth, hoping to find this amazing bit of history and lore, but I came up short. At least that's what I thought until one of my friends ran over to me holding the card and gave it to me. Little did any of us know at the time that that gift would set into motion the development, the accumulation of an absolutely ridiculous collection and endeavor. But here we are. So welcome to a very special and unusual after hour with Wing, which has absolutely nothing to do with a stream for once and is actually currently just audio being recorded for a video that doesn't even exist yet. But I can assure you that the lights are still dim low and the feels most definitely start with the thigh. So with that out of the way, let me welcome you. Today we are going to tackle something insane. My incredibly strange and unique MLP CCG collection. Chapter 1. What does Wing actually collect? This is something that actually warrants some discussion, and to be clear, there's no script here. I'm just rambling about things that I've discovered along the way, so if I get off the rails, you all know why. So, firstly, as I sort of alluded to in the intro, the thing that garnered my attention, that gained my focus, was the MLP CCG promos, like the one stamped with PF. I know there are other ones like the Fix Set series, things like number 1F with a capital letter. Those are cool to some people, but I'm going to be honest, I don't really classify them as promos. Same thing with the tokens. That is sort of a completely separate entity in my mind. I know that some of them were given as promotional materials as part of some event or a tournament. I get that. I understand why some people put them in the same set as the promo foil series, but to me, it's a different thing that came along later in the game. After I had started collecting stuff, that's just the way it is. Deal with it. All right, so what exactly led to the collection growing beyond the promo foils? Well, that came from a mathematical analysis. See, I realized pretty early on that every time you pick up a pack, you have these 12 cards, I think, right? Something like that. And guess what? Out of those 12 cards, 8 of them are guaranteed to be at least common. 25% of them are going to be uncommons, and you're going to get one rare in every pack. So, in my mind, a rare isn't really all that rare. So there are different ways that you can think about this. There are different ways that you can align the percentages. But the way that I look at it is, if I have that rare card and I turn it over, what is Enterplay's probability for having that rare magically transform into a card of higher rarity? And so if you do that, I call it the rarity replacement chance, you find some interesting numbers for the higher tier cards. For example, for super rares, it's 22.2%. So between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 times you flip that card over, your rare is going to be a super rare. For ultra rares, it's between 7.7 and 11.1%, so around 10%. And for royal rares, it's a little under 1%. So when I think about that, to me, super rares aren't even all that rare, right? Like pretty much 1 in every 4 to 5 packs, you're going to pick up a super rare. For an ultra rare, it's roughly 1 in every 10, and for a royal rare, it's roughly 1 in every 100 packs. So to me, in my mind, the royal rares and ultra rares are at a different standard relative to the super rares and below. Now, that's not to say the cards aren't cool, right? I do have some super rares that have migrated into my collection for various reasons. You can look at them. I have some printing plates as well, which to me are incredibly fascinating. And I have some of the TCG cards as well that I've picked up along the way. Those are all cool. Those are all awesome. You'll see them. In fact, you may already be seeing them depending on how I put this video together. But for clarity, I collect the promos because they're unique event cards. I collect the royal rares and ultra rares because mathematically speaking, they are actually somewhat rare. And beyond that, it's just kind of random oddities that migrate into my collection. And in fact, before I close this chapter out, I will say that there is one big set of rarity in my collection, and I'm not referring to the pony. And I have the demo decks. I have both of the demo decks from Gen Con, sort of the predecessor to the entire game development. So I think that's really cool. I think it's a very interesting touch. Not many people have the full decks. I have all the cards. Technically I have the whole decks themselves, but the ones that are actually shown on screen are the unique cards. I'm not going to put duplicates in there because that's ridiculous. But now you know what led into the formation of my collection. Now let's get into storytelling. Who knows? Maybe I'll actually flip on a camera. We'll find out. This has been a very piecemeal production. So let's just move the hell on. Actually, scratch that past me. One last thing to put in here before we actually do move on. Crucial note. This collection follows a prioritization. And what I mean by that is, let's say a card has a promo version and an ultra rare version. You will only see the promo version in this collection unless I happen to acquire the ultra rare first. So essentially, promos, those PFs, sit on the top, and then it goes royal rares, ultra rares, and any other super rare, whatever that happens to enter the collection. So if you sit there and think, well, the ultra rare version of this card is missing, chances are I have the royal rare or a promo. That's what I mean by that. All right, that's the final note. We can finally get the hell out of here. I actually have my camera set up now because it's been a little while. Piecemeal, like I said. Anyway, now, truly, actually, moving on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the back of the house. Now, I'm actually dubbing this over because I realized that my camera did weird stuff with my mic. Before you question why I'm wearing nitrile gloves, it's because the front of the house is much more exciting. It's a new binder and I don't want to get it all messy. There's a lot of nitty-gritty stuff that happened to the old binder, the one that's on screen right now. I carried this around to cons, got pretty gross. 7-8 years on the con scene, it happens. So I'm going to take 4-ish minutes or so just to flip through both of the binders, show you that the collection is real. So let's just walk through what we have here. Everything in this particular binder is arranged in a way for the VAs to sign, or whoever I want on show staff to come along and sign this. So right now we're essentially transitioning out of the Ashley Ball zone and into the Tabitha St. Germain zone. You're going to see this a lot. We also have quite a few different types of cards in here. We have some promo foils, again, the star of the collection. In addition, we have some demo deck cards like the ones that I just pointed out. We have a royal rare Arslo on this page, and there's definitely a few ultra rares in here, and perhaps even a super rare or two that's been lingering. But again, this is sort of the collection of things yet to ascend to greatness. I have carded these around to cons. I generally use this as my cue. So for example, I will often queue them up in the front of the page whenever a convention sort of gets its shit together and knows who the guests of honor are going to be. That's when I decide, all right, these are the cards that are going to get signed, and then I dump them. So now I've reached the end of the set in this binder. I'm going to switch over and grab the business end, the front of the house, the vault, where almost everything in here is actually signed. So I think it would be better to save sort of the stories about this collection for the PNG, but everything did start with the derpy card that I pointed out a few seconds ago. There is a lot of history here, and a lot of cards have been signed. I think part of the reason why I wanted to show this in video form and dub over it is that I think it's kind of important to actually show that it's a real, tangible thing. At some point, I'm going to, tap the binder as I emphasize this point. Somebody could have come along the way and photoshopped this. Someone could have presented this in a nefarious way. I wouldn't expect anybody to. There it is. There's the tap. I knew it was coming. But I think to have some sort of visual reference, here it is in video form. Here is my hand turning the pages. There's something exciting about that. And when I take this thing to conventions and I meet people who are interested in the cards and they see the number of signatures, I can't tell you how many times people have been amazed at the first page of signatures. And then I just keep flipping. And people get incredibly excited by that. It's so funny to watch as the amazement level grows, and then you reach like card 100 and people lose their minds. They're like, wait, what is happening? And then they realize that it just keeps going. Now in the back here I have some unsigned cards. I don't expect that I'll ever get the Magic the Gathering special ones signed. I also don't think I'll run into any actress or actor from the movie, and it is highly unlikely that I'll ever run into Weird Al. Likewise, we know that Kathleen Barr doesn't come to conventions, so the Chrysalis and Trixie cards are unlikely to be signed. But on the back page here, I have one of the coolest things, which is my collection of printing plates. And some of these are awesome. One of them I did get signed with a paint marker. That was done by Kelly Metzger. So again, this is really the absolute business end of the collection. Everything in here, almost everything, is signed. And once things get signed from the other binder, they get moved over to here after they get scanned in to make the giant image that we are about to explore. So I'm going to phase up and move on over to whatever next piecemeal part comes from this. I hope you have enjoyed the journey. Let's carry on. Chapter 4. Wings MLP CCG Periodic Table. I've had this up during the previous chapters before I got to the video, but looking at this gigantic picture really doesn't even begin to encapsulate all of the stories that come along with it. So if I zoom in and sort of focus on this first page, I mentioned that everything really started with Equestrian Mailmare Special Delivery. This was the card that I had actually missed. My friend got it for me, and it's actually the only card that's out of order. Every single other card that I have signed in here is representative of the order in which it was signed, except for this one, and technically Kelly Metzger's signing of the printing plate at the end. But I decided that since this was the first promo that I received, and it was a gift from a friend, that I would sort of highlight it as the first card in the entry of signed memorabilia. So one thing about this, though, is that even this first page here from, Peter News signing of Yup through to, I believe it was Octavius Serious Musician. Is that right? It's been so long now. No. That was signed at BronyCon. So everything on this first page, with minus, of course, Tabitha's signature. So essentially everything on this first page was actually signed at Ponyville Cider Fest 2014. And this is a story that's actually awesome in and of itself. I had decided, I had gone to BronyCon in 2013, very last minute. Just 2 weeks before I decided to book a ticket, I was going to go as a surprise, show up, visit a friend, say hello, drop in, all sorts of fun time goodness. That experience was awesome. So then flash forward a few months later, Ponyville Cider Fest appears in Milwaukee. I'm in the Chicagoland area. It's a short drive north, right? And I'm sitting there thinking, well, now I have these cards. I'm really invested in them. I kind of want to hop in and see what it's about. What am I going to do? Right? Actually, technically, I had gone to BronyCon twice. 2013 and 2014. Whatever. Either way, this story is Ponyville Cider Fest 2014. It's Saturday morning. I get up. I see an episode of the show. I'm talking to other fans, my friends that I've made along the way. Right? Friendship is magic, that good shit. And I'm hesitant. I'm wondering, do I want to go up there and get these cards signed? Because by this point, I had probably had, I don't know, I think I had all of the first set promos by now. And I had decided that I wanted to get them signed. That was going to be my mission. But was I going to pull the trigger at Cider Fest, or was I going to wait? And so I asked my friends Saturday morning, hey, I don't have a ticket for this con. I'm not going to be able to stay for a hotel because I have job responsibilities. So do I just go up for the day and hop in the autograph hall and get these signed? And he goes, yeah, of course you should do that. That's like, yes, go. So I run downstairs, hop in my car, and just drive up to Milwaukee. And, Cider Fest is actually one of my favorite cons. It's very high up there on my list. I've been to every single one. But this was like the first year. It was very small. I get to the autograph hall expecting a similar experience to what I had witnessed at BronyCon, which was absolutely packed. Now, I knew, of course, that Ciderfest wasn't the same scale as BronyCon in terms of raw magnitude, but I still expected a draw. And I show up at the autograph hall, and there's like barely anyone there. You know, there's maybe one person ahead of me who's essentially on the way out, and then it's just myself chilling in a room with all of the guests. And at that con, it was Andrea Lemon, Peter New, Ingrid Nilsson, Michelle Krieber and all of her family, and Black Griffin, right? So they're all in the room. I'm there just kind of getting my bearings, and one by one I go down the line and I start getting things signed, right? So the interesting thing that happens here is that, you know, they start asking me, like, what do I do? And, you know, I'm a particle physicist, so that always makes people go, what the hell is a particle physicist doing here? What is happening? You know, it engages discussion, but in this case, the discussion was actually pretty cool because both Black Griffin and Michael Krieber have a lot of connections with, you know, engineering interests as well as engineers in the family. And this was extended when Andrea revealed that she has a degree in civil engineering. So we were all talking about science. And I don't even know how much, like, a substantial amount of time elapsed. Because all of a sudden I'm looking around, and now I am the only one in the room. It is just, you know, again, the guests and me. And I'm starting to feel a little bit awkward. You know, to be clear, like, I don't get starstruck by people. I'm just there. I'm getting the card signed. We're talking. It's cool. I'm, you know, very chill environment. No, like, pressure. At the same time, I'm cognizant of the fact that people overstay their welcomes, and am I just here and I need to leave, right? And right as I'm thinking this thought, the person who's, you know, the con's, you know, guardian of the hall walks in and is just like, you need to go. Like, you need to leave. You essentially confirming all of the thoughts in my brain that I have outlived and outstayed my welcome. And right when this person says that, Andrea just goes, oh no, it's Wing. We like him. He could stay. Like, stay. And so I do. I stay for the rest of the session. And for the most part, it's just us. And we're just shooting the shit and talking science. And it gets to the end. And it's only, you know, after that point, they had to all go to the guest of honor panel. So it's just Michael Krieber and myself. And he's just like, Wing, I know you gotta go back, but you should just come chill with me in the back of the autograph or back of the main event hall because, you know, guests of honor sessions are essentially the same. I mean, it did not take very long to identify that, but we spent the entire panel in the back chuckling over people's questions. For what it's worth, I will say this: if I were ever a con chair, I would make it a rule that only kids are allowed to ask questions, because my goodness, do adults get up there and think they sound smart and they don't. Right. So, the point, what a negative little injection into an otherwise positive story. But the big deal is that this really established the tone. This established that I wanted to get these cards signed, that my interactions with people on the show were a lot of fun, and it's something that I wanted to continue doing. And so, as you can see, as we go on, we have the next BronyCon in 2015. I got a whole bunch of cards signed in here. I have a key in my Excel document, so I'm kind of trying to follow along as well. Where's the time researcher? So this is the gap right here, where we switch over between Ponyville Cider Fest and the next BronyCon. So it was just so fascinating to get to meet everybody. And, you know, like, even in here, so this was at Cider Fest 2015, and they had, like, everybody. It was crazy. And you think about it like this, right? I had met Andrea, but I hadn't met Ashley or Tabitha yet. And so to come into this convention and to have all these cards now accumulated, I bought like 27 autograph vouchers at that Cider Fest, to the point where they actually instated a wing rule. I could only redeem 5 vouchers per guest per session. So because of the fact that I was loading up on Ashley and Tabitha, I had to I had to come back all 3 days. And it was just funny because by the end of it, it's like, oh, hey, Wing, how's it going? You know, welcome back. I see you're here for the next round, right? So we were going through our usual shenanigans, and that was a lot of fun. Another thing that happened at the con, one of my great friends was slated to come out too, but was not able to do so. Rainbow Dash was her favorite character of the show. So I get up to Ashley at the table and I say, hey, this is like super awkward, but would you mind calling my friend so we can like troll the shit out of her? And Ashley was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, let's go. Let's do it. So I call up and I'm like, hey, how's it going? You know, here's somebody who wants to talk to you. And she just immediately drops into the Rainbow Dash voice and starts saying all this crazy shit that, I mean, now I don't even remember what was said. I was just like so amused by the fact that my friend who was going to come and then wasn't able to come and then got sick was suddenly having this conversation. And it was hilarious because I walk out of the autograph hall and I'm like, so how was that? And she goes, well, that sounds like someone was doing a really, really good Rainbow Dash. I was like, yeah. Tell me about it. That was Ashley. Just loses her mind. So I don't know. It's a little bit weird. I'm kind of wandering off on, wing memories here. But there's some other good ones here too. Anna Lee here, these 3. Great story here. She'd come over to the US to do a convention tour with her family. I kind of looked because they hopped from Kansas City to Minneapolis, which I thought was a little strange. And so I just reached out and I say, hey, are you going to come back through Chicago on your way out? Like, I had communicated a little bit over Twitter. Definitely got some like positive science vibes, particularly from Annalie's husband. And she said, yeah. So I said, hey, do you want to tour an accelerator? So, husband got super excited, obviously. And I will never forget the image. I kind of knew about when they would arrive from Minneapolis because I went to grad school there. And so I knew that drive very, very well. I knew when they left. I knew about how long it would take. I counted for having little kids in the car. So I was looking at my window in the high rise and I saw this, SUV pull up and I had a feeling. So I went down, and as I get to the doorway, sure enough, this family waltzes in and Annalie's daughter is wearing like this just Rainbow Dash clothes. And I'm just like, yes, I have found the right family. And that was such an incredible experience, to be able to like welcome them to the lab, show them around, give them the science tour. But it was also really fun because there's a lot of art exhibits there. We have an auditorium as well. Taking them down to the auditorium stage, particularly excited Annalie's daughter. And all of a sudden they call out from, the stage like, hey, Wing. And I'm like, what? And Annalie just screams, the night will last forever, hits an evil laugh. And for those of you not in the know, when you evilly laugh in the presence of a physicist who has any semblance of an imagination left, you have to evil laugh back. Like, it's absolutely critical. So I do. And my goodness, were coworkers at the laboratory extremely confused. But, that was amazing. And that tour was only supposed to last an hour. They were there for the entire afternoon. And it got to the point where we needed the food, so of course I took them to get deep dish pizza, because what other thing would a Chicago native actually do? Like, what? It's like my sworn civic duty. So while we were getting food, while we were enjoying pizza and having a bunch of laughs, Annalie selected these cards to sign. I mean, she's also the Swedish voice of Spitfire, so it makes sense. And we have wing on the wing on the wing. It's like Wingception up in here. So definitely fond memories of that one. Gotta keep scrolling. Gotta keep living the dream. I mean, we're barely through. We're barely through the first 90 signatures here. I will say this. I think Rebecca has the absolute most snazzy signature out of everybody who works on the show. I mean, my goodness, is that just legit. Oh, Kathy also has a very recognizable signature as well. I wonder how many quiets I have from Kelly in this. Probably a lot. Probably quite a few. Oh, these are some of my favorite cards. We have the Princess Luna, Tabitha signed number 100, and then Nicole signed Nightmare Star with Don't Love and Tolerate the Intolerant. To be perfectly clear, I wanted her to sign it F Nazis, but I decided that was very inappropriate to actually ask at a con with a bunch of children around. So I went with a backup quote instead. I think it gets the message across all the same. But anyway, like I said, lots of history up in this collection. There's a lot of stories here. Oh, I mean, we also have the wonderful universe where Andrew decided to ask me about my OCs at the table. My goodness, that was a poor decision. I'm not exactly sure anybody should ever do that, but, much love. So we have the Britt and Andrew signatures going on here. Always a plus. Love to see it. There's so many Andrea signatures up in here. It's crazy. Oh. Gotta have the Princess Big Mac. Now this one's a pretty good one down here as well. The good old Daniel Ingram. So Daniel Ingram was actually the first person who ever signed anything for me in sort of the MLP space, but it took years, actual years, for me to get something signed by him in this card collection, which I kind of view as a little funny. I'm trying to find it now in my whole magical chart. Yeah, it was 2018 when I finally got this signed. I also love how I'm pretty sure I just completely bypassed the card signed by Lauren Faust, which is another interesting story in and of itself. I have never actually met Lauren. Every single time Lauren has been at a con that I have been at, the lines have been so incredibly long that I have not been able to meet her in person. I sort of delegated that responsibility. So she's kind of like the magical unicorn. Oh, here's another good story. So Big Jim has been on my stream multiple times. He came back for 2 interviews on the After Hour with Wing. The only person on show staff to be on the After Hour with Wing, and the only alum. Like, what an absolute legend. So I guess I should do the responsible thing and shamelessly plug those interviews. If you want to hear about flat earthers and whatever random shit we talked about years ago, I did find things particularly interesting to share with the fan base about, working with a network, working with the owner of IP as you develop and grow a brand. Not as simple as people think. When folks blame the writers for decisions made, you are misdirecting your anger. You should probably be more focused on, say, Hasbro itself, right? That's how that works. It's a very, very interesting state of affairs there. This will probably infuriate many many card enthusiasts, simply because I took the Continentals 2018 promo, the staff of Sucanis, which is almost impossible to find these days, and I had it signed by the director of the movie. So, I don't know. Hard to say what people think about that. I have no idea. I think it's awesome, but I could understand that there may be some purists out there that are very confused as to what exactly is happening. Why would I do that? Why was I made, and what did they make me for? Oh, we're near the end now. We're near the end. At the last Cider Fest, I actually broke my streak. I had 30 cards signed, much to the amazement of everybody. And they were mostly signed by Andrea. Largely because I really wanted Andrea to sign number 200. You know, we had the greatest rapport out of probably everybody that I've met. Lots of history there, as you can see by this collection. But that brings me to the current end. This is the total number of cards I have signed. So now the stories are over and we move in to the adventure of the unsigned cards, right? Things that Ashley needs to sign. By the way, demo deck cards, pretty rare to find. I'm actually really happy that I added these to the collection. I know I talked about it in chapter 2 of this adventure. Exactly what I decided to put in this collection. But this is really unique. Like, a lot of people have a lot of promos. A lot of people have the ultra rares and royal rares and seek them out. But not a lot of people have demo decks, and they get a little surprised when all of a sudden that's in stock and on view. So I think it's a fascinating piece of the CCG history. So I'm pretty happy to have that tucked away in these binders, and hopefully one day it'll migrate from the unsigned section and truly elevate and ascend, achieve the destiny that it so happily deserves. I love how I'm just clicking through all of this like some sort of psychopath. Oh, wow. But yeah, it's been a labor of love here for many years. Many years have gone into this collection. Many conventions from 2014 up until 2023, when I'm sitting here recording this, have gone in to this being a thing. Ah, yes, of course, we have to find the bottom layer. The reason why it's so haphazard, there's no real reason for this. The reason why it's so haphazard down here is because I really had no desire to rescan these. I had no desire to rescan these whatsoever. I just could not be bothered. So they're in sort of weird row arrangement. But the ones down here are like the ones that are very unlikely to ever be signed. The Magic the Gathering. These cards are actually stunning. Like, for those out there who managed to snag these, good job. I bought 4 sets and sent 2 to friends and have 1 as a spare, and then this one in the binder. I love them. And finally, that brings me to the last set of 9 that I can't really display all in one go. My printing plate collection. I have the Trixie Royal Rare printing plates. These I actually found at one of the BronyCons. It was either the last BronyCon or the one before the last. I can't really remember. I think it was the last one, because I saw them and I was just like, full send. Must full send. And I mentioned this in chapter 3 that Kelly signed this. By the way, if any of you need to have metal things signed, Deco color paint markers are king. I'm shilling them. I'm not sponsored, but obviously, come on, this is like a channel with like 4 views or something. There you go. Not sponsored, but there it is, folks. I don't know. I feel like I've just been rambling for like 30 minutes almost, so it's kind of pointless for me to keep going. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, whatever, feel free to ask. If you want to know how much money I've spent on this thing over the years, the answer is a lot. I want to say about $8,000 in terms of getting cards and autographs. Before somebody says that's a ton of money, Remember, I've gotten 204 signatures, and the base autograph price at a convention is $20. And that alone is around something like $4,800, I think. So either way, I've definitely spent more than one penny on this. But I would say over the last 10 years, it's been sort of my exciting hook into the convention scene. It's something I've enjoyed. It's something I'm definitely going to continue to do. 200 is just not enough. I want to have as many cards in the signed binder as I can. And no, I have no idea when I'm going to stop. It's kind of a weird transition period right now where I'm not really sure at what point do I say, all right, it's unlikely I'm going to have anything signed now. Like, the scene is dried up. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it like the 3-strike rule. I go to 3 cons, and if I can't get anything signed at 3 consecutive cons, then I just say, all right, it's done. It is what it is, and I move on. But until then, I'm going to keep on that grind. If you're out there grinding for cards yourselves, good luck. Keep it up. If you get things signed, just be chill. Don't take your shirt off in the middle of the autograph hall. Yes, I've seen it. I don't understand why. It's weird shit. Don't do that. Okay? Don't be that guy or girl or whatever you identify as. Don't be that person who takes your shirt off in an autograph hall. Very weird. And what a weird way to outro. For those who used to attend my streams, no, I'm not going to sign this off by singing old time rock and roll, but Bob Seger is still a mad lad, insane, he still got it. But I will sign off with this one. You possibly know what's coming. If you don't, you'll sure as hell know soon enough. Get the hell off my video, you Celestia Blessed hippies.